Boker Tov, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Torah portion. We are reading Parshas Massei. This Shabbos, we conclude the entire book of Bamidbar, leading us into the book of Devarim, the fifth and final book of the Torah, which is always read just before Tisha B'Av. So this Torah portion is always read in the period of the 3 weeks, between 17th of Tammuz, when the walls of Jerusalem were breached by the Romans and the Babylonians, and the 9th of Av, when the temple was destroyed by both the Romans and the Babylonians. I'd like to address some interesting ideas in the weekly Torah portion. The first one I'd like to talk about is the timeliness of the Parsha. The timeliness of the Parsha goes like this. You see, in this week's Torah portion, the name of the portion is Massei, which means journeys. It's about the Jewish people's journeys, 42 to be precise, from Egypt to the Promised Land. But amongst it all, the Torah throws in a very irrelevant detail. It tells us the story of the passing of Aaron the high priest. Now, the reason why this is irrelevant is because we already know about it. We learned about it 2 weeks ago in Parshas Chukas. We learned that Aaron passed away. So why do we need to know it again? Let me read you about what the Torah tells us about Aaron's passing. It's just a random piece of information that's wedged in between the 42 journeys listed at the beginning of the portion and getting ready to enter the Promised Land. Here it is. It's on page 1037 if you have the blue Chumash. Aaron the priest ascended Mount Hor Ahar, it's called. He ascended Mount Hor at God's bidding, and he died there by God's kiss. That's a way to die. God kissed him, the kiss of death. Moses actually desired this kind of death as well. He died there by God's kiss on the first day of Av, the 5th month, in the 40th year of the Israelites' exodus from Egypt. Which means that Aaron is the only yahrzeit mentioned in the Torah. There is no other yahrzeit that's as explicitly mentioned in the Torah, the day of the passing of Aaron, on Rosh Chodesh of Menachem Av, the head of the month, the first day of the month of Av, which is the 5th month when you count from Passover, from Nisan, which is the 1st month. Aaron was 123 years old when he died at Mount Hor. Okay, so this is what the Torah has to tell us. We learn a few details. Okay, we know already about the passing of Aaron. We learned about that 2 weeks ago. But what is added in this week's Torah portion? A few interesting details. Number one, we learned that he passed away by the kiss of God. Number two, we learned the date of his passing, which is the first day of the month of Menachem Av. And number three, we learned that his age. We learned that he was 123 years old, a nice, ripe old age. Why weren't these details mentioned in the first time? Why did the Torah just tell us this straight up the first time that we were told about his passing? And then we wouldn't need to hear it again. Just do one and done. One of the explanations that the Rabbi gives us is that this week's Torah portion is always read very close, adjacent to the date of Rosh Chodesh Av. Today's date is the 23rd of Tammuz. It's 7 days before Rosh Chodesh Av. 7 days before this Yahrzeit, which means this Shabbos, which is in 4 days' time, will be the Shabbos that blesses this date. Typically, the portion of Devarim is always read the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, which basically means that the portion of Massei will always be read on the Shabbos that blesses this date of Rosh Chodesh Av. Why is this? The Rebbe says that even though we know already about the passing of Aaron, what the Torah is coming to teach us here by repeating the passing of Aaron adjacent to the date of his death is to teach us the importance of Hebrew dates. To teach us that the date upon which something occurs is not merely a landing spot. It's an energy which causes that event to happen. Again, the date upon which you were born is not just a date that you happen to land on, like some sort of what's that gambling thing called, when you throw the dice and the wheel sort of spins. What is that thing called? Is it called roulette? Roulette. Okay, thank you. Pardon my gambling ignorance. But roulette. So it's not just that your date happens to be the date that you were born. No. The reason why you were born is because it was on that date. This idea comes from the Megillah of Esther, which when the Megillah tells us that Mordechai and Esther decided to, and the sages of the Sanhedrin decided to institute this event of Purim as an annual Jewish festival. They say these words, "Vayomim ha'ila nizkarim v'na'asim," and these days are remembered and fulfilled, to teach us that the days themselves, the remembrance of the days, is what fulfills this energy of redemption. Whatever was accomplished on Purim was the result of the days, the energy with which God infused those days. And therefore, every single time that those days reoccur, that same energy repeats itself. This is the reason why on your birthday, it's a special day. The date of your birthday is the day that all of your energies rise to the fore. In the language of the Torah, mazalai goiver, your mazel dominates or strengthens. What is a mazel? A mazel is often mistranslated as luck. Mazel doesn't mean luck. Mazel means channel, energy flow. Mazel means energy flow. When you say mazel tov, you're saying, may your energy flow be for the good. May it manifest in a good way, not in a negative way. And if you want to learn more about this, I encourage you to listen to my class called Supernatural. It's on jewishgardens.com/wisdom center. That's jewishgardens.com/wisdom center, where you can look up the Supernatural class all about astrology and the signs of the zodiac. But the reason why we say your mazel dominates, your energy flow rises, strengthens, emboldens on your birthday is because that's the day of your birth. So when that date reoccurs, it brings to the fore all of your energies for you to be able to be stronger. And that's why you're able to bless other people. That's why you're able to do things that you wouldn't normally do, which is why you're supposed to take upon yourself new resolutions on your birthday, not near your birthday, but on the date of your birthday, because the resolution that you make on the date of your birthday is emboldened by your invigorated strength. Same thing goes with all the Jewish holidays. Why do we celebrate Passover every year? Not just because we're sentimental, idiosyncratic, and ritualistic, but because the date of the 15th of Nisan is a date of redemption. And at each time that we pass through that energy, we are experiencing redemption, which is manifest through the matzah and the myrrh and the wine and so on and so forth. When we experience the 25th day of the month of Kislev, we're experiencing illumination and overcoming the fight over assimilation, which is what Hanukkah is all about, and so on with all the Jewish holidays. What the Torah is teaching us in the 6th Torah portion about the adjacency between the second notification of Aaron's passing, right on the Shabbos, which blesses the date of his actual passing of the earth side, is to teach us this exact idea that we have to associate events with the date that they originally occurred on. Because by doing so, we tap into that energy. The Rebbe manifests this idea on a very, very practical level, something which really is able to influence us in a beautiful way, to empower us, in a beautiful way, by the previous Rebbe's directive of learning every single day the weekly Torah portion associated with that day, the weekly Tanya portion associated to that day, and the weekly reading of Tehillim, of the book of Psalms of that day. This collectively is known as Chitas. Chitas, Chitas. Chitas is an acronym in Hebrew for Chumash, Tehillim, and Tanya. These are the three foundational Torah learning ideas that you're supposed to learn each day on the day upon which they occur. Just to explain briefly how this works, so every Shabbos we read from the Torah, right? We can finish the entire Torah in 1 year, but every Shabbos we read 7 portions of Torah, called 7 aliyahs. We call 7 people up to the Torah, corresponding to the 7 days of the week. So on Sunday, you're supposed to learn the first Torah portion of this coming Shabbos with the commentary of Rashi. On Wednesday, today, you're supposed to learn the 4th portion of this week's Torah portion, which happens to be a double Torah portion, Matis and Massei. So today you're supposed to learn the 4th portion, the 4th aliyah of the double portion of Matis and Massei with Rashi's commentary. Same thing with Tanya. There's a portion of Tanya divided for each day of the year. And the same thing with the book of Psalms. Psalms is actually divided into 30 days. So that today, which is the 23rd day of the month of Tammuz, we read the 23rd sequence or section of the book of Psalms so that we'll finish the entire book in 1 month. This is all beautifully printed in a weekly publication that's mailed to your home. It's called the Chayenu publication, Chayyenu, and I highly encourage you to subscribe to this incredibly helpful and meaningful and inspirational publication. It is Torah in English delivered to your door. I would say timely Torah in English delivered to your door. And you can sign up at chayenu.org. That's chayenu.org. I believe there's a free trial if you want for the first 8 weeks or so. Chayenu.org. And you can just have this received, delivered to your door. And my encouragement, what we're learning today from Aaron, being repeated again in the Torah portion, is that you should learn every day. On the day, you should learn the portions of that day. So today you should learn the 4th portion of Chumash. Today you should learn the 23rd of Tammuz entry in Tanya, and today you should read the 23rd section of the month for Tehillim because of the energy of that day. So when you study Torah on a day, here's what happens. When you study Torah on the day of which it occurs, which is what I just described, then that energy empowers that day to be more successful for you. Whereas if you're a bit of a procrastinator, and you figure that you're going to catch up 3-4 days at a time, or you just study when you're in the mood, which it would be an intermittent form of study, what you're doing is that you're missing out on the energy of that day. One of the great sages of Israel, his name is Rav Avadia Yosef. He described this concept not in the context of chitas, but in a similar context about doing your spiritual needs at the right time. He said that studying the Torah out of the sequence in which you're supposed to study it will be like putting on your undergarments on top of your outer garments, where, technically you could probably, nobody could accuse you of not being dressed, but it's weird. It's really weird. You can't go out in public like that. So when you study the daily Torah study in the right time, you're actually channeling the energy of that day to you through the power of Torah in the most beautiful way to illuminate your communications this day, your efforts this day for success and revealed goodness. And that's the reason why the Torah, says the Rabbi, why the Torah repeats the story of Aaron, in order to inspire us to realize that when it comes a date that's mentioned in the Torah, you better read what happened on that date on the Shabbos that blesses that day, because that's the energy of that day. Hopefully this makes sense, this idea. If you have any questions, please do let me know.